Hi folks, it's Dave here from Humble Adventures. Thank you for joining me for today's video, which takes a hike via interval panoramic views to the summit of Mount Snowdon, the tallest mountain in Wales. During our visit, the paths weren't too busy, but it can get crowded at certain times of the year. In fact, Mount Snowdon is the busiest mountain in the United Kingdom, with more than 500,000 people visiting annually. Standing at 1,085 metres above sea level, the mountain is the second highest point in the United Kingdom, behind Scotland's Ben Nevis, which stands at 1,345 metres. Due to its location, varied terrains and title, Mount Snowdon finds itself as part of numerous hiking challenges. The most notable challenges are the Welsh Three Peaks, which includes 21 miles of hiking over one 15-hour effort, which includes driving between locations, incorporating Snowdon in the north, Cadair Idris in mid-Wales and Pen y Fan in the south. The Welsh 3000s Challenge, a gruelling 24-hour challenge for advanced hikers, incorporates all 15 Welsh peaks over 3,000 feet high. Depending which route is taken, the distance is around 35 miles and covers 3 different mountain ranges, and usually either begins or ends at Mount Snowdon. And of course the most well-known challenge is the National Three Peaks Challenge, which incorporates the one highest peak in each of the 3 British mainland countries in 24 hours. Those are Ben Nevis in Scotland, Scafell Pike in England, and of course Snowdon in Wales. Although Snowdonia on the whole, that is the 827 square miles of national park in which Snowdon sits, hosts many rare and beautiful plants throughout, Mount Snowdon itself boasts some plants rarely found anywhere else in Britain, such as the appropriately named Snowdon lily. Snowdon is also the only place where the Snowdon beetle resides. It's these rarities which earn Snowdon its National Nature Reserve status. The Snowdon Range features many natural amphitheatres, or coombes, inhabited by various sized lakes, each boasting its own features and characteristics. The largest and deepest of those lakes is Llyn Llydaw, at 190 feet deep and covering 110 acres. This lake is one of the prominent features of 2 paths in particular, the Pig Track and the Miners' Trail. There are many paths leading to the summit from various locations around its base, all of different lengths and difficulties. So varied is the terrain that Edmund Hillary frequently visited the mountain during training for his 1953 ascent of Mount Everest. Many of these routes can be combined, and of course different routes can be taken down the mountain than the ones used to ascend. On our ascent we used the Pig Track, which starts at Penny Pass. As you can see, the views from the offset are beautiful. It's suggested that the entire trek from start to finish should take between 6 and 7 hours, depending which tracks you use of course, but you could easily spend half that time simply gazing over the land. The weather changes so quickly on Snowdon too, that the same view can change completely in the time it takes to take one quick sip from your flask. As you can see here, although the weather isn't fantastic, the scenery on Snowdon is beautiful, and it's certainly no surprise that it's such a popular location for tourists. To be honest, I was slightly worried about what I'd find on the mountain with it being so busy and well known. I was expecting obvious signs of irresponsibility and disregard, but was pleasantly surprised to experience none of that. The paths were well kept, there was no litter lining the route, and other than obviously the paths themselves and a few safety precautions at very scarce intervals, the mountain seemed almost untouched by man, so certainly a welcome surprise for me. The Pig Track isn't one of the easiest paths, but it's certainly not one of the hardest paths either. Many beginners and less experienced hikers complete this path comfortably. The Pig Track joins the Miners' Trail before the steeper zigzagging path leads to just below the summit, where the path levels out slightly for much of the remainder. It's funny and at times frustrating and slightly daunting, to be honest, especially for beginners climbing the Pig Trap, as you can see the neighbouring peaks tower above. Of course, you know Snowdon's the highest of them all, and so you've got something to judge its height by, but those neighbouring peaks never seem to approach. At one point the clouds fell and disguised those peaks for a good half an hour, only to reveal them again in seemingly the exact same distance. So climbing Snowdon can play with your head a little bit like that. Up the final few steps to the summit and hopefully you're greeted with beautiful views over the country. Unfortunately, as you can see here, the weather on this particular visit was not on our side. However, on a clear day it is possible to see Ireland, Scotland, England and the Isle of Man. To be honest though, once I got to the summit, considering the weather, the only thing I was interested in seeing was a cup of coffee. Heading back down, again passing over the zigzagged paths, we turned away from the pig track we ascended on for the miners' trail. This was much steeper, much quicker than the pig track, but as a result the remainder of the trip was much easier to the car park at Penny Pass. In fact, once the steep section was passed, it felt much more like a long stroll than a hike. Of course we were tired though, and so took our time, so realistically it could have been a much shorter walk for some than we experienced. The miners' track is actually the most popular path on Snowdon, and with the views we were lucky enough to see, we are in no way surprised. As we explored along the shores of the lakes, we peer up at the vast peaks, feeling dwarfed by the height of the paths we were just recently ascending via. All in all, we had a fantastic day and we recommend anybody to visit the summit of Snowdon. Altogether it probably took, from leaving the car park, hiking up there, spending a good hour in the cafe and then returning to the car park, probably around 8 or 9 hours, but it was well worth it just for the views. They were absolutely beautiful. Night fell quickly on our visit and we once again experienced a whole different mountain with nothing but the moonlight to guide us. This was a magnificent, albeit anxiety-awakening experience. Eventually we reached the causeway leading over the Lyn Lador Lake in pitch darkness before eventually completing our way back to the car park past a few of the miners' buildings. Anyway, thanks for watching folks. I know this video was a little bit different, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do remember to click the thumbs up button, and if you're interested in my other content, please do consider subscribing and adjusting the bell notification settings accordingly. Also, don't forget, if you're on Instagram or Twitter, you can follow my adventures there too. Thanks again for watching folks. See you soon.